Hi everybody, thank you for watching the video. As you can see, my deadlift training from January 14th of 2018. Currently 3 weeks out now from the USPA meet in Yorktown Heights, New York. And today was actually a set day, meaning what that means basically I have a set number of sets, a set number of reps per amount of sets that I want to hit based on the weight. So I'm not really going for an AMRAP or anything like that. And today's weight was actually 567. And based on the video, I did 5 sets of 3. And I'm actually not really happy with how this moves, especially how last week I was touching 547, so just a 20-pound difference. And it actually shouldn't make that much of a difference, but I found that actually throughout, I would say maybe about the third set is when my body was kind of synced in with how the weight was feeling. So initially it wasn't feeling really anything substantial, but then again it could be because also I haven't really touched that kind of weight for some time and easing back into it, and that's actually my first weight that I usually touch around my meet preps anyway. So just definitely slowly getting back into those numbers. So and actually last Wednesday, this past week, I actually pulled 675 for a double off of 1.5 inch blocks. So you know, that's definitely a plus there. I usually stick with blocks that are about 4 inches plus, so I went down a little bit. So that was actually a good sign there. So definitely that shows that there's definitely some progress that's being made, even though it may not feel like it in regards to using these plates and with this Illegal bar. It's definitely making some progress there. So it's definitely on the right track of where I want to be at. So one thing I definitely wanted to touch on too, besides the training, is I think the most important thing you always want to keep in mind is to stay focused on your purpose. Meaning that whatever you have going on around you in your life, do not let that get to a point where it distracts you or takes you away from what you are focused on. There will be many situations and many people of different influences that could possibly steer you in the wrong direction and steer you away from what you are trying to accomplish. Now, it may not always be something negative. It could be something, you know, that is not really intentionally to be something of a bad influence as well. But the one thing you do have to keep in mind is that along the way, in order to be successful with whatever you're doing, you have to maintain consistency in regards to making the right choices, always staying on your purpose, and always making that the priority. And not letting things distract you, you know. And if anything, if you are going to, you know, indulge in things that are outside of what you're doing, just make sure it's a balance and you do it in moderation. Meaning that, yes, there's going to be times where you are going to need some time away from focusing on what you're doing, because you can get to a point where you're burnt out. You can get to a point where you're stressed. But you have to also make sure that if you take your time away from that, so you can put your mind at ease or give yourself a mental and physical break, you have to find a balance and not get to a point where you kind of off shift your balance from your purpose being the priority to then having that more of a relaxed phase becoming the priority. And that could potentially throw off your mindset. So the most important thing you have to realize is that make sure that you maintain that balance of your purpose as well as time off, I guess you could say, or time away, so you can mentally and physically rest. But make sure you find that balance, and if you are at that point where you are burnt out and you're stressed, just do it in moderation. You know, that's why people that are on diets, they have scheduled cheat days. That's why powerlifters have scheduled deload weeks, because you do get to a point where you do have to pump the brakes. There's a reason why cars have brakes on them. It's because every now and then you're going to have to take a break, because guess what? If you run on the pedal 100 miles an hour nonstop without any brakes, you're going to crash. You're going to crash, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Or if you don't crash, you're going to run out of gas. So you have to conserve in some way, shape, or form, and you have to find that balance. But again, in moderation, and make sure that you're doing it in moderation and consistency. So, I've always been a big advocate of just staying on staying focused and staying driven. And I will keep that's me. That's who I am in a nutshell, and I will keep preaching that. But the one thing I definitely realized, based on past and personal experiences, is that if you don't give yourself a break, you will break. And you will find yourself wasting time trying to put yourself back together again so that way you can get back to where you want to go, to get back on track. If you are not doing things in moderation, if you are not conservative in any way, shape, or form, or show at least a slight bit of conservativeness, then you'll break. And sometimes our ambition and our drive can be something that can affect us and actually harm us if we don't balance things, and I can tell you that there's a point in my life where I blocked out everything and just did nothing but my purpose, and it just and you would think that, okay, that's a perfect route to go, that's a perfect mentality, but in reality that did affect me, and it didn't affect me in a positive way. Finding that balance is what helped me the most, and helped me realize that in order for me to stay consistent with keeping going on my purpose, is I had to find a balance of being conservative amongst that on that path. Because again, you have a car and you go 100 miles per hour nonstop, you're going to either get to a point where you crash or you're going to run out of gas. So sometimes you have to make pit stops every now and then on the way to refuel so you can keep going. Because if you keep pressing on the gas and you don't let off, you're going to run out of gas, and then you're going to get to a point where you crash and you stop. Or you stop and crash. So, aside from having that on your mind, again, always keep it conservative and keep it in moderation. The one thing I believe is a lot of people need guidance is because they don't know how to A, have moderation, which essentially B, is have self-control. It's usually two opposite ends of the spectrum. It's either you have complete and utter self-control, or you have none whatsoever. There's never a happy medium. There's never a middle, aka that's where the balance is. Because the thing is, for example, for somebody who's on a diet, you do have to have essentially a cheat meal every now and then. Yes, you do. Somebody who's a powerlifter, you do need a deload week every now and then. Yes, you do. Because you have to find that balance so that way you can recharge, refuel mentally and physically so that way you can keep going. That's why we have vacation days at work. That's why, that's why you have breaks at work. Is so you can give your mind, your body, and your spirit recuperation time so that way you can get back and keep grinding. Finding that balance, I think, is the most challenging thing. Let alone being able to have the self-control to maintain that balance is the most challenging thing. For me, I believe that's where I am in my life right now. And I notice for me, keeping that in the back of my mind, with my approach in different scenarios has kind of changed in a sense. Because I am so determined, I'm so inspired by what I want to achieve that I will go 110%. But sometimes I get to a point where I don't want to stop because I feel like, and I fear if I do, then I'm slowing myself down. But I, again, through many situations, I have brought the stop to myself from not giving myself time to pump the brakes, to refuel, to re energize mentally and physically so I can keep going. And I think that's just something that's just with experience and time that you can develop. But I noticed that the more balance that I've had, the more I've been able to stay consistent and the less likely for me to put myself to a point where I run out of gas or I crash. And that's fact. And for me, I think now just keeping that in mind and applying it to other things in other aspects of my life is going to have a positive effect on it. Now, just because I'm saying this does not mean that I say you can't go 100%. Now, what I'm saying, when it's time to be on, then it's time to be on. You better go. By all means, that still holds true to me. When it comes time to be back on the business and get back off your break, you better keep going and busting your ass because that's what it takes. No matter what it is, that's what it takes in order to be successful. When it's time to show, you better go all out. Make the sacrifices. Drive and push yourself and never, ever give up. When I say stop, I don't say stop to give up. I say stop when you're burnt. Stop when you're stressed out. Stop when you realize it's not fun anymore. Give yourself that break mentally and physically so that way you can refocus, re-energize, and recharge so that way when you get back into the groove and you get back on the grind, there's no stopping you. Because now you're at a point where you're rested, you're ready to go, you're recuperated, you're recovered. Now you can get back up and go 110%. And again, like I said, through many aspects of my life and personal experiences is what has helped me learn that, and I believe it's just something that comes with time and experience. But don't ever lose sight of your drive and your ambition. Never lose sight of that. Because still, regardless if you are taking a break, regardless if you're on your grind, your ambition and your drive is what matters. Your mindset is what matters. Now here's the thing. I can sit here and take a break and recoup, but my mind is still on my purpose. So yeah, I can sit here and relax and recoup and reflect, but I will still think and I will still put my mind in a position where, okay, even in that scenario, how can it benefit me? How can I use this opportunity to benefit me? For example, let's say if I had a deload week or I'm off from the gym. Those off days, what I'll spend is either A, catch up on schoolwork, B, watch footage of my training, or C, look at my programming for the days to come. So even though physically I'm not on my grind, mentally, I'm still thinking about it. Mentally, I'm still having that mindset. I'm still on my purpose in another way. So even though you do give yourself that time to sit back and reflect and relax and recoup, you can still use it to benefit you once the show gets back on the road. So always have the mindset to stay on your grind. Always have the mindset to do things that are always going to benefit you and put you one step closer. moderation, and consistency. And don't fall into the trap of getting distracted. Doing so will put you in a position where you will go down a wrong path, or you will develop bad habits. You will be more involved, or you will get involved with negative influences that could take you away and detract you from your grind, that mindset, that determination. Always give yourself time to recoup, relax, and reflect. Never lose the mindset. So that way when you get back on track and you get back up, you're motivated, you're determined, that ambition is at all-time high, and you're back on the grind, and there's no stopping you. So that's one thing I wanted to share in this video. It's something I definitely want to keep in mind, as well as I wanted to just share that with everybody going forward. And I definitely just want to get back on my grind, get back on my purpose and what I want to achieve. And I can say wholeheartedly that with what I do now, my ambition and my drive is to be one of the best at what I do. And I will push myself day in and day out and look for any way so I can get to where I want to be at. I will constantly keep pushing and I'll constantly keep fighting, because the most important thing is that what's behind all that ambition, what's behind all that drive, is that I can sit here and say confidently that I believe in myself, and I tell myself every single day, no matter what it is, as long as I set my mind to it and I never give up and I keep pushing myself, I will achieve it. I will overcome it. No matter what obstacle, no matter what life may throw at me, I will dip, dodge, or I will fight through any obstacle or anything that comes in my way to get to what I want, because I want it that badly, and nothing will stop me from that. So, I'm 3 weeks out now, and last 2 deadlift workouts will be just on the same increment of just slowly working up to heavy weights. And like I said, this program is nothing substantial. It's nothing that's already preset. I kind of I took a reference from another program, but I pretty much just put my spin on it, and I want to see how it's going to affect me body-wise, and from based off of my performance and based off of how I do, I will make the proper adjustments from there. So, but 3 weeks out, like I said, I have 2 more deadlift workouts left, and I just definitely want to keep it with the consistency and just roll into the next workout with the same, just the same performance, and just hit my numbers and make sure that I'm ready to go, so I can perform the best that I can be on meet day. So 3 weeks out, 2 deadlift workouts left, and if you have any questions in regards to training, something personal, I'll have my email in the description below. But as always, guys, thank you for watching the video, and most important, as I always say, keep believing in yourself. Thank you for watching the video, and take care.